3, 1.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, that is bad, and that is savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
I'm Dash Gearhart, also known as DJ, and this episode we are reviewing In the Heights, brought to you by the man who brought to you the musical Hamilton. That's right,
Yes.
Lin-Manuel Miranda's Tony Award-winning musical brought to the big screen, in which Adam and I watched on the big screen.
We watched it on a literal big screen.
It was crazy to sit and not have to wear masks because we're fully vaccinated, and sit in a real life movie theater watching a crazily fun, high energy musical.
You know, we didn't even hold hands this time.
No. And it was so refreshing.
You might as well have to this musical,
because I know we saw Chris Nolan's Tenet in theaters kind of during the pandemic with masks and doing social distancing, but man, Tenet was just confusing as hell.
It was.
And this was like, I consider the movie returning, like cinema, the return of cinema, you know?
Yes.
And what a great, like, I don't know, positive piece to bring us back from the darkness that was the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was honestly going to say, too, that if I would have seen this film at home, which listeners, you can, if you want to, you can just turn on HBO Max and you can watch this film. Go right ahead. But I highly suggest, if you can, go to a movie theater and watch this movie. It was a huge difference for me to see this movie in a movie theater versus watching it from the seat of my couch. Because if I would have done that, I can honestly say I would have just paused this film, gotten up and walked to my fridge and grabbed a snack or something, walked back, checked how much time is left on the movie. I would have constantly been seeing, I've still got half an hour to go. Dang, okay, guess I'll keep watching. And that's not me saying, you know, right off the bat that I didn't like this movie. I am absolutely not saying that. I am just saying that you get so used to watching movies and shows in a very loungy style where you have that luxury of being able to pause and come back, or just constantly check. I can hit the back button on Netflix whenever I want. I can go in and out whenever I want. That's all I'm saying. And I could have done that with this movie.
At home, you could have danced the dances.
That's true. You can't exactly do that in a theater. You could. I mean,
You just get a lot of weird stares. But at home, you totally have the freedom to let your booty shake
just
to the
join
great
in on
dancing
it
that happened in the movie. And then bring it to
I
the
can learn
dance
it.
floor
I can learn
once
it now.
that
I can
happens.
go back and watch it and relearn all the dance moves. So
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to see that. That'd be amazing. Put it on TikTok. Check out our TikTok.
In the Heights.
Yeah. But before we get into the deep dive of the movie In the Heights, let's talk about our side slurps. So if you're new to the show, in the side slurps, we talk about things we've been watching, reading, playing, or maybe reading or making besides watching the movie that we review. So yeah, bud, what have you been side slurping besides In the Heights?
You know, I gotta tell you, my anime friend from another land over there, that
As I'm wearing an anime shirt.
Yes, you are. And
Goku.
I just finished off Assassination Classroom finally. After our last episode, I dedicated a morning to just kick off the last 5 or 6 episodes that I had to go through. So I finally finished the show, and in honor of my birthday that's coming up here, my girlfriend got me a present. It's an early birthday present, and I enjoy it very much, but I'm going to pull it onto the video here. And it's a plush version of the main character in Assassination Classroom. So
I need to check that out.
It's
what I'm seeing, folks, is a big headed yellow thing, man, not sure, with multiple feet, and a graduation outfit with a graduation cap and a giant smile.
He's a teacher.
So that's what I'm looking
He's the
at now.
teacher. It's Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom. He's the teacher that all of the students have to try and murder. So it's
I need to check that out.
it's pretty great.
So I know the reference.
So that was pretty good. And since that anime is off my radar now, I started watching a new one. And of all the animes for me to choose, I started watching Attack on Titan, which is absolutely awesome. I am so impressed by the way that show looks, first and foremost. Just from the very beginning of season 1, which I noticed that Attack on Titan premiered in 2013. Which,
yeah, it's been out for a while.
Yeah, very interesting. It's still kind of recent, though, because a lot of the animes I've noticed are super old. Like, they go back into, the 90s, or it goes back, if you wanted to watch, something like Inuyasha or something, that's going back there, but or Sailor Moon or something, but I haven't quite touched on that yet. But Attack on Titan, it just looks so good, and it's a pretty violent show. I mean, it's military soldiers that are going against what are called Titans, and they're just giant human-looking people without crotches, basically. So
with giant weird smiles.
Yeah, with giant weird smiles.
People.
If you like David Lynch, you might like Attack on Titan. Just weird creature things, I'll just put it that way. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really great. I enjoy it very much, and I'm going to continue down that train as time progresses here. And other than that, I started watching a little bit of the newest season of Hell's Kitchen. Totally different than Attack on Titan, let me put it that way. But Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay, the newest season, it's a bunch of younger children that are vying to be Gordon Ramsay's apprentice. They're all about 20, 21 years old, maybe 23 years old. They're all super young, and I can't handle the young children trying to be a seasoned chef, because I mean, right now all of the girls are the most talented, and the guys just keep losing and losing and losing, and that's probably the funniest part. But they are all just so crazy. So you never know with that show. But that's pretty much been my past week. So what have you been up to, DJ?
Well, real quick, I just want to ask, how far are you into Attack on Titan?
Oh, I'm probably in I want to say like the 15th episode or something, but they just introduced the captain of the scouts. So
that's right. It's been a while for me. I've only seen the first season. I mean, because it took a really long time, I think, for the second season and on to be imported over
it was
States.
Like 4 years or something.
Yeah, it was a really long time, and I know we have it now, but I just haven't revisited it since, because I just kind of lost track because it was so long. But I might go back to it. But I'm working on some animes myself in terms of my side slurps. Of course, we continue on watching My Hero Academia, which is fantastic. I recommend that to everybody who likes even a little bit of like the Marvel MCU, Harry Potter, or maybe just shonen anime in general, like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or Bleach or One Piece. If you like any of that, you probably will like My Hero Academia. And the thing is that it takes all those things that I mentioned, and it really cuts the fat. It cuts the things that don't work in those things, and it molds it so well. It refreshes the shonen genre of anime so well. It's heartwarming. It's exhilarating. It's inspiring. It's funny. There is some pervy anime manga stuff in it. I mean, I wish manga and anime would just shed that. There's I don't know if you've ever seen Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, but Master Roshi, of course, is always looking at porn and is getting nosebleeds.
I was just gonna say, it's always the nosebleeds.
I don't know why. Dudes in Japan, you guys gotta know. I mean, I love you, and please know this, but that's not what happens when when one gets horny.
Note to self: I need to do some research and figure out who made the decision to make it a nosebleed.
Whoever thought that, or whoever that happened to, go see a doctor. Something else.
Who made that a trope? That's gonna be in all anime. There's gonna be nosebleeds when they get.
You don't get a nosebleed when you're horny. That doesn't happen. If it does, you gotta go see a doctor. But anyway, so My Hero Academia is fantastic. Go see it. Also, I've been watching Demon Slayer. So My Hero Academia are among the fairly new anime that's been imported into States. And I think My Hero Academia was in 2016 when it first started. And Demon Slayer, I think, is as of last year, if not 2019. So it is fairly new. It is really good, incredible animation, they do such a good job of retaining the 2D style of animation while also incorporating some CG elements. I know Attack on Titan does this too, where it is able to travel across like a 3D plane, but still keep the characters on a 2D plane away, or a hand-drawn style, which I really appreciate. I like Pixar stuff, but like that's it. When it comes to CG stuff, like anything else, unless it's like Shrek, I'm just not into it. Like into like all CG. I'm just not. I don't really enjoy all CG stuff unless it's like a video game. If it's a video game, cool. Video game, Final Fantasy, awesome. If it's something like the movie that we reviewed recently, Charming, nah.
Charming's a no.
Yeah, I really like the 2D style. Also, in that case, go watch Castlevania if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. And they also get greenlit for another spin-off series, which is really cool, taking place in the same world. I also been continuing reading Dune, which I'm really excited about. Again, I've been watching a lot of supplement stuff because Dune is commitment to read, and it's not the easiest thing to read, which is okay because Frank Herbert writes in a way where it's almost kind of like incorporating verse within prose. Like there's a melody to it, and I do appreciate it. But the thing is that it's not. I can't just like zoom it or can't like read it really fast like I would like Game of Thrones or something like that. It's just like page after page. Like Dune goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. There's a melody, so it's a little more difficult to read, but it's enjoyable. And from what I've read so far, it is gratifying and enjoyable. And there's this YouTube channel called Quinn's Ideas I've been really enjoying. That he is a huge Dune fan. Also a fan of other science fiction and fantasy novels. And this guy I think his name's Quinn. He goes over so many different aspects of Dune that I'd be really in the dark about a lot of things in the universe if I didn't watch these videos. So I do appreciate those videos. Go check him out. Check him out on YouTube. Anyway, so the big thing that I watched this past weekend that, besides In Heights, that I really, really enjoyed, which it would be Bo Burnham's Inside. It's on Netflix. It's a comedy special. It's a musical comedy special that Bo Burnham recorded and edited and scored and performed all in his house, a room of his house during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is fantastic. It is so good. The songs are incredible. Basically, it's kind of like watching like a string of music videos over and over and over, starring Bo talking or singing about different topics. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, like basically, FaceTiming with mom, or basically singing about like, is comedy dead? Is this a time to be joking right now? Or was it a time to be joking right now? What purpose does it serve? A lot of existential stuff like that. How the world is made and how it's built on blood. And a lot of like the education system is demonstrably false. And you learn it all from a sock puppet. And you also talk about white women's Instagrams and how a lot of them are the same. And also you talk about the internet and how things were so different right before 9/11. And it was, basically he kind of makes this metaphor that it was always the plan to put the world in your hand. And he's referring to like Gen Zers and beyond. And Bo's around our age. And he also talks about like, entering your 30s. And it is so good. It is so catchy. It is so thoughtful. It is so funny. He even has a streaming. This part's not really a musical. It's more of a sketch where he plays this video game and where he plays a Twitch streamer, and he plays this game, quotations game, where it's him in the game, and he just wakes up and walks around, and then he presses buttons to make himself cry, and then to play his keyboard, and then to go back to bed, and then that's the end of the first day. And then it's really good because like he also like really emulates a streamer. He just said, "Hey, thanks Dante for the 3 months subscription, appreciate it." And anyway, it's really good. This guy, I mean, it's genius. I could go on and on about it, but I'm going to tell everybody, go watch it. Granted, please keep in mind, and he's very self-aware about it, it's from the perspective of a rich white boy, well, rich white young man who doesn't have to worry about money. You know, I mean, there's much more perspectives like during the COVID-19 pandemic that were like way worse off than this. But it is, a lot of the songs seem very relatable, and it's so good, man. He's a genius. Like, he is a fantastic artist. It is beyond stand-up comedy. It is on its own genre, and I hope he's noticed by some big producers, and I hope like they cast him or they get him to score a musical on Broadway, and I hope that musical becomes its own movie, you know, like, and he's directed 8th Grade, wrote and directed it, and 8th Grade was so good too. Bo's a smart cookie. He knows what he's doing. He's fantastic. Go check it out. Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix. With that said, let's dive into another musical piece.
Musical, yes.
Yeah, which was on Broadway, but now on the big screen for everybody to go check out. And it's In the Heights. That's right. In the Heights is a 2021 American musical drama film based on the stage musical of the same name by Quiara, Alegría, Hudes, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. It was directed by Jon Chu from a screenplay by Hudes. The film stars Anthony Ramos, Corey Hawkins, Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera, Olga Merediz, Daphne Rubin Vega, Gregory Diaz the Fourth.
Yep.
Fourth. I was thinking Final Fantasy Roman numerals.
You got it.
To reference the 4. Yes. Gregory Diaz the Fourth and Jimmy Smits. Yes, from Star Wars. The film follows a similar plot to the musical, telling the story of a coroner in the Washington Heights neighborhood of Upper Manhattan in New York City, where every member of the community pursues their dreams of a better life. In the Heights was originally set to be adapted by Universal Pictures in 2008, and Kenny Ortega hired to direct. After that version fell through, the project was eventually started back up in 2016, with Chu set to direct. And Chu also directed Crazy Rich Asians as well. And also Ramos being cast in October 2018. The rest of the cast joined in April 2019, and filming took place around New York City that summer. Originally, it was intended to be released in 2020, but you know what happened. And In Heights was postponed due to the pandemic. The film had its world premiere at the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival on June 4th, 2021, and was released in the United States on June 10th in theaters and simultaneously streaming on HBO Max. HBO Max.
HBO Burnham.
HBO Max. HBO for a month. That's right. HBO Max. HBO Max for a month. It received acclaim from critics with praise from Chu's direction, the story, and musical numbers.
You know, I will say, though, I wonder what this would have been like if Kenny Ortega directed it, because, I mean, he's got a musical direction background. I'm curious directorial differences between Kenny Ortega and Chu, you know, and Jon Chu.
That's a good observation. A good I mean, because he also did like Hocus Pocus, and
High School Musical,
Newsies, Michael Jackson's This Is It. I
think it would have had a very different look to it, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this was chock full of music and dance numbers. So I don't know how much more Broadway it could have gotten, but like I can't help. But you're right. I can't help but wonder with his background
how much more Disney would Kenny Ortega make it look if it's, you know.
Yeah, Disney for sure. But no, that's a good observation. But yeah, so this film had a budget of $55 million, and so far it's made $11.7 million in the box office. Again, don't judge it for that. COVID-19 pandemic still. We're coming out of it. I know a lot of us have been vaccinated, but a lot of the world is still just, coming out of it. And Lin-Manuel Miranda also made a cameo in it as a snow cone vendor, street vendor. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about plot, man. You and I saw this both. Could you kind of go into plot a little bit?
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen this.
There will be some spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I thought the film kicked off really nicely, and just to kind of go back into the introduction of the film, the sort of beginning backstory, it very much starts off with our main character, who we learn his name Usnavi, which I shouldn't say it's sort of like a laughable backstory on why he has his name Usnavi. It's actually very cool, but we'll get into that. He's telling these children, these 4 kids, sort of on this island, why, like, where he came from, how it all started, his backstory, and he's explaining that he was in New York, and he was in this place called Washington Heights, and he tells them very directly that he wants them to repeat that so they don't forget it. Say Washington Heights, say it again, Washington Heights. And so they're saying Washington Heights, Washington Heights, and then you get this very nice extensive song that really kicks us into gear about what Washington Heights was in the neighborhood, and a little bit about Usnavi's backstory and how he owned this bodega and the kind of people that come through the bodega and the neighborhood that he's in Washington Heights. And so we get introduced.
Say it again.
Which part? Washington Heights. God damn you.
Washington Heights.
You're getting
Sorry,
me.
I threw you off. Continue. Sorry.
But he's in this bodega that he owns, and the neighborhood comes through. The main characters of this film are all coming through his bodega, and he's explaining who these characters are that are his typical customers, which are essentially his closest friends as well. Kevin Rosario, who owns a taxi company on the corner. There's this man Benny, who works for Kevin Rosario. There's also the salon ladies. There's this local salon that these women work at, and they're very frequent clientele. There's a woman named Vanessa who Usnavi is crushing on. He has got a serious crush on Vanessa, but he does not quite have the courage to ask her on a date, so he gets made fun of for that a lot in the movie.
My younger cousin.
There's Sonny, who's Usnavi's cousin, and that's pretty much the prime people I can think of at the moment that come in the intro. There's also Nina, who shows up after the intro, but she's also another main person. Oh, and Abuela, who is the matriarch of the neighborhood. She's kind of like the mother of all, essentially.
Kind of like the surrogate grandma.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're kind of the prime contenders of the neighborhood. But the neighborhood, if you'd like to think of it, is like one big family. They're a very mutual neighborhood of people. And that's really a prime focus in this film is how can they keep that neighborhood together, that culture together. And it goes on. And how can they keep that together without falling apart, essentially?
Yeah. That's I think that's well stated. The gist of the beginning for sure. So this movie, yes, it takes place in a very Washington Heights, and I have a few friends that have come and gone and still are in New York City, and a lot of neighborhoods that they've lived in are places like Astoria or Washington Heights. And I didn't know this before, getting to know more about in the Heights, is that it is primarily a very diverse, ethnically diverse, but culturally predominantly Hispanic or Latino community. So what I mean by that is like very diverse in ethnicity, skin tone, but a lot of them, not every one of them, but a lot of them have a culture that stems from Latin America. And that is something that they're very proud of and that they share. And even though that isn't necessarily a main aspect to the plot, it still contributes a lot, or still a factor, I should say. For instance, Nina, who was she came back from Stanford, right? She was studying in Stanford, and she came back, and her dad is played by Jimmy Smits, which I was really happy to see him in this. Again, Bail Organa in Star Wars. He is Princess Leia's
did a great job.
father, or he plays Princess Leia's adoptive father. Anyway, we saw him in Rogue One. Dude, I don't know if you've seen it, but like when Rogue One was out, which by the way, Rogue One's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It was funny to see the difference that they showed between Jimmy Smits, the way he looked in episode 3 and Obi-Wan Kenobi in episode 3, like Ewan McGregor, and then to show him in Rogue One, which takes place basically the same time as A New Hope. Oh. And then they show Alec Guinness looking super old. And it's like, wait, how did Jimmy Smits didn't age? Bail Organa didn't age at all. Like, and someone wrote like, yeah, because like Bail Organa is sitting on Alderaan, like sipping kale smoothies in like a really nice planet that probably has an ozone layer, while Obi-Wan Kenobi's on Tatooine with 2 suns in this desert hell. So yeah, of course it aged tremendously more. So anyway, boy. But yeah, I haven't seen him since Star Wars, so it was really great to see him in this. So yes, as Nina comes back and she doesn't really want to break the real news to her dad. She kind of like plays that, you know, she missed a deadline to pay tuition and, you know, it's bogus. But the real issue is that she didn't feel like she had a community there. She even got searched due to discrimination. Was her roommate and was accused of stealing just because she looked different. And keep in mind, folks, like I'm saying to people who don't really know much about Latino or Hispanic people, like they can look like anybody. Like literally they can look like anybody. Right. Like you look at Nina, an actress who plays her, Leslie Grace, she looks like a mix. Like she's the light skin mix. She looks like she could be descendant of like African and indigenous people and white people. She looks like 3 of those, you know. So it's hard for anybody to say what she looks like. I mean, for instance, another example is that Sofia Vergara, for instance, when she got on Modern Family, the producers of that show actually made her dye her hair black when she's from Venezuela. And she has naturally blonde hair. But since she was playing a Latina woman, like they wanted her to be a stereotype, which Sofia Vergara, you know, from what I read, thought that was bullshit. It's like, no, we should just have me be blonde. Like, why do we have to play to American, you know, stereotypes that like think, you know, all Latino or Hispanic people look the same way, you know, It's like saying someone's Jewish. They can literally be anybody. Anyway,
see, I think this was one of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie, though, is that these are very real elements that this film is bringing up, or this musical, I should say. Yes. And it's just like when I was watching it, and as it's going on from song to song to song, the thought that's going in my head is I'm like, you know, this film, the music, it really reminds me of the musical Rent. And when I was looking up some information on the musical, I saw in a video interview with Lin-Manuel Miranda, he was saying that the musical Rent was actually one of the musicals that was an inspiration for him as he was writing this. There was Rent, there was West Side Story, and I think Cats was even a musical that he felt was a little bit of an inspiration in the writing in this. But I was like, okay, well, that makes sense then that he found inspiration in Rent. But I think it had to do with the fact that Rent, in their lyrics and in the music, they were pulling from realism. They were pulling from real events, and they're being, you know, true in like the way they were storytelling through their lyrics. He was like, you can actually do that in like your songwriting. And so I think he was kind of pulling that concept into In the Heights with a lot of the songs. It's like, this is real stuff that happens in life. I'm going to put that into a song now. And like Bo Burnham did in Inside. Yeah, but I appreciate that, because watching this musical, as entertaining as it is, I also find the entertainment in the fact that it's almost like watching the news, and it's kind of like a necessity to see something like this, because it's like, yeah, these are things we should be all thinking about. Like, we should be caring for these people. And I agree. I really appreciate that for sure. And I think a lot of people there are cultures out there, or like there are scenarios like the Stanford scenario that Nina went through, where she's like, yeah, my roommate searched my bag and everything like that. And I hope that, you know, there's people in the audience where they're like, man, there could be someone in the audience that went through that, or God forbid that somebody did that to somebody. I hope, you know, it smacks them in the face and they think like, wow, I cannot do that to someone. It's just like, I want movies like this to be a learning scenario for a lot of people, and just think about life, you know. That's just the biggest thing. Watching a movie like this, just like let it be a learning situation for the world. I appreciate movies like that for this.
And on that note, that's what I especially appreciate, that there were so many people within this community that there wasn't stereotypes, you know, there wasn't like the Sofia Vergara, like, you know, or Fez from that 70s show,
right.
You know, there wasn't those like, and I got nothing against those people who actually do sound like that. But like there was a very diverse, they were just people united in a culture, and they looked like a bunch of different kinds of people, and that was great. And I believe that, now granted, I know this movie wasn't perfect, but this is a step in the right direction, I believe. Again,
absolutely.
I'm speaking as someone who's a light-skinned person, so I don't know what it's like to be truly a dark-skinned person. And just acknowledging it a little bit, like the backlash that Lin-Manuel Miranda, who also did apologize recently about the criticism they got about having mostly light-skinned people as the main cast members, even though there was dark-skinned people, but mainly the main cast was light-skinned. And there is a lot of people don't realize this, but I'm talking about like white America mostly. A lot of white America assumes that, you know, that a lot of Latin America, or people who descend from Latin America, are just all brown people, like indigenous people, basically. I mean, they're not, you know, they're all indigenous people that was forced to have Spanish culture, because that's where it all stems from, Spain and Portugal. And there is a lot of black people down there, a lot of people that descend from Africa who are brought over there because of slavery. And there is a lot of black people who need to be represented, and they should have been represented more. As I was reading on In Heights, I didn't really think about that as much, but Lin-Manuel Miranda did. He's like, fuck, you know, I'm paraphrasing. You know? He was like, God damn it, me. Why did I fuck up again?
You say it a little more polite than that.
But you know, we all make mistakes.
Yes.
And I don't know him personally, but I believe he's a good dude, because he also got criticism for Hamilton about, basically he got criticized for Hamilton being a great musical that really showcased a lot of people of color on stage, which is really cool, telling an American story. But you look back on it, it's really fan fiction for colonizers and slave owners, which is not a good thing. And he's like, he took it with like dignity, and he owned up to it, and he's like, fuck, again, I'm paraphrasing, and he's like, I'm sorry, and he's like, I did the best I could. And I believe that he takes these criticisms to heart, and will move forward with making really great stuff with those failures in mind to make it even better. So I think he is a good man, because you do know, I'm talking about our former president here, that man wouldn't be able to take any criticism. You know, that man wouldn't be able to own up or apologize for anything. I think a good man or woman, or however you identify, a good person is a good signifier that they're good, is that they can apologize and they can own up to stuff. So I think for that matter, yes, a great step in the right direction for showcasing people to break a stereotype, but it can go even further. You know, in regards to what you're talking about with Lin-Manuel Miranda, there's actually go even further. Sorry. Anyway, sorry.
In regards to what you're saying, there's actually a video of him discussing this with Trevor Noah now, I think, on his most recent episode, and he does mention that regarding that and regarding his apology, essentially what he's saying is that he is listening to the criticism that people have made, and he does hear what they're saying, and what he's saying is that like he accepts that, and he will learn from what they're telling him, but at the same time he's still very much proud of the movie that they've put out, because you know, it's taken 8 years to make this movie, and it's been Weinstein was attached to it originally. Interesting.
Yikes.
You know, it's just
in May
it's
2016, it was announced that Miranda would co-produce in the film with Harvey Weinstein and backing from the Weinstein Company. But we all know what happened there.
now, so it's just I imagine for Lin-Manuel Miranda, this has been a huge piece of life's work, and he's very happy to see it become a film, and he won multiple Tony Awards as a musical. Now it's a movie, and I'm sure he's very proud to see that happen. And then on the opposite side, he's got criticism coming his way, and as he was saying, it's just like he accepts that, he'll learn from that, and in the next project he does, he's all ears for that kind of stuff, and it's just like he will do his best to make better work in the next project with this as the learning experience. But on the other side, he's very proud to see what he's made come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now, back to plot. You know, we had all the people that were like really fighting to reach their dreams. You know, we had Vanessa, who really wanted to be a fashion designer.
Right.
We had Nina, which was kind of like on the fence of, she kind of realized it in mid-movie what she wanted to do. And she realized that she did want to go back to Stanford. And, you know, she was able to stand up to her dad, her dad was really all about helping, but she was right. He was doing it for himself. He was like, oh, let me take care of it. I'll pay for it. I'm doing it for you. And he's like, no, you're doing it for you, Dad. He wasn't listening to her and the trauma that she faced while at school. And she was able to find what she really wanted to do, which was go to Stanford, come back with her degree, and help the people in her community. And Usnavi, who didn't he also go by Navi too?
Yeah, I think just Navi.
Zelda, the fairy. Yeah. Navi. Anyway, so Usnavi, you get these scenes where he's telling the story to his like a small group of kids on the beach, and it's kind of hinted at it's the Dominican Republic, and he's telling the story. Basically, it's almost kind of Wonder Yearsy, where he's like telling this like fantastic story of him in New York and the Washington Heights and people he knew. And they also keep giving hints at an upcoming blackout. You know, first, I think the movie starts out with like 3 days till blackout, 2 days till blackout, 1 day till blackout. And once it gets to that point, like that's sort of the breaking point. You know, we start to see Usnavi and Vanessa, they go on a date. Granted, it was not Benny, but Sonny, Usnavi's little cousin who helps him run the store. Sonny, who helps him get the date with Vanessa. And he ends up...
Thank you, Sonny.
Yeah, Sonny gets him the date. He ends up going out dancing with her. And granted, also, this is soon after Vanessa got turned down for an apartment in, what was it, like in Manhattan, to then pursue more fashion design.
Right.
So she's not happy about that, but she's like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, let's go out on a date with Usnavi.
Yeah, she couldn't get the apartment because she couldn't prove she had good credit or something like that.
Yeah, they didn't say she had bad credit. It's just that there couldn't be a credit check for some reason.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe she just didn't have any credit. Who knows? Because she's so young. But anyway, so they go on a date and they go out dancing, which is, in my opinion, my favorite scene was the club scene. And wow, that was so cool. Also
very cool.
Funny because all these guys want to dance with Vanessa, and Usnavi was just kind of like, oh yeah, sure, you know, go, fine.
Just go dance with her, yeah.
And dude, I gotta admit, when I was younger, I used to be that guy where I was like, I don't want to be a controlling guy. I don't want to, you know, tell her what she can do, blah 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 blah. You know, and then realizing later, oh no, my date just wanted me to say no, she's with me. Like my dates and dates, I would say, that I found out later that like they're all like, why didn't you just say you're with me? Like, what? Like, of course I danced with him because you weren't saying that I was with you. So, and I'm like, fuck, I thought that would have been a chauvinistic thing to do. They're like, no. Like, I want you to put your arm around me. I want you to say that you're my man. Or at least
cut in at some point. Like, if you're going to let her dance with somebody, at least cut in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like George McFly. It's excuse me, like in Back to the Future. You know, it's like sometimes you do have to take some charge. You know, not being an aggressive asshole, but like sometimes you do have to like step in and be like, no, dude. She's with me.
This girl's mine.
Until she says no, or until until further notice, listen to her, of course. Like, you gotta be like, no. Nope. she's with me. And that's what Vanessa wanted Usnavi to do. And granted, he lets her go dance, and all these guys want to dance with her. She looks great. She's dancing awesome. And he tries to make her jealous by trying to like buy a drink for someone else who he finds out doesn't even speak English. And then soon after that awesome scene, the blackout happens and all hell breaks loose. Everybody can't see, but luckily it's the 21st century. Everybody has a phone and a flashlight on their phone.
And a firework. So, they start lighting up the neighborhood with fireworks.
Yeah, they start. Yep, it's the summer, so probably around 4th of July, everybody's lighting up fireworks and stuff, which is cool. I mean, at first I was like, oh, all hell break loose. And then afterwards I was like, oh, actually everybody kind of seems like they're banding together really well. Yeah. Like, they kind of made it seem like, I almost like thought of Do the Right Thing, a little bit. Yeah. Kind of like this pressure, it's getting so hot. The pressure's so deep, it's making everybody, crazy and just really angry and stuff. But then the blackout happens. I'm like, oh, everybody's just really hot and sweaty and it's really dark when it's night, but everybody seems like they're banding together really well as a community. So that's cool. Yeah. But anyway, Usnavi and Vanessa, they end up getting into a tiff because Vanessa says that, Usnavi abandoned her and Usnavi wasn't cool, and he's like, "Oh, even you were out shaking your ass while all these other guys like."
Well, whose fault was that?
He's like, "Yeah." Vanessa's like, "Dude, you told me." We're like, "What the fuck? You said it was okay. Like, it's not okay, and fucking say it." So anyway, Benny, who we haven't talked much yet, who was played by Corey Hawkins, who played
Aaron awesome
Burr in the
voice.
original. Yes, indeed, who played Aaron Burr in the original Hamilton musical. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but there is several Hamilton people who are in this, including Anthony Ramos, who played, I believe, Lawrence and also Hamilton's son in the original Broadway musical. Corey Hawkins, who was also, like I said, Aaron Burr.
And the guy who was the original Benny from In the Heights was the ice cream man.
Yeah. Who was, oh, gotcha. Yeah, and he was George Washington in Hamilton. So yeah, he was like this, like the ice cream man that was kind of like giving Lin-Manuel Miranda's cameo character a hard time. Yeah, that was George. He was George Washington in Hamilton. Also, Mark Anthony's in this, which I didn't realize till now. So yeah, Mark Anthony is in this, and yeah, so Lin-Manuel Miranda brought some of his gang over to this movie, which is really cool. So Benny goes to, I forget, what was that? They were talking about like being sold or not by Jimmy Smits' character, Nina's dad. He ends up calling people, right, to like help them. Is that what he does during the blackout? He goes back to his workplace, right?
Yeah, he goes back to the taxi company on the corner.
Oh, it's a taxi company, that's right.
Yeah.
And
then I think Kevin Rosario, he sees Benny in there, and then he starts making calls with him.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So yes, they go to help people. And meanwhile, the patriarch that we mentioned earlier, oh boy, played by Olga Merediz, Ablela. Yeah, Ablela Claudia. Yeah, she doesn't take her medicine right. I forget what happened that led to her death. Was it her just not taking her medicine? I forget. Do you remember?
I don't remember not seeing her take her medicine. I think it was just kind of it very well could have been, but I don't remember not seeing her take her medicine. I just remember seeing her lay down in the bed, and then it was just kind of like a musical number sort of came on, and her stress in real life, and then a musical number came on where it was kind of like, is it time for her to go or not, basically.
Mm-hmm. She was like dreaming of her when she was young.
Exactly.
Cuba, right?
And then at the end of that musical number was basically her looking into the light and like a set of stairs. The interesting thing about that number, and definitely certainly a metaphorical visual that was going with that number, was that there was a ramp and a staircase right next to one another, and a light at the top of the ramp and the staircase that were next to one another. And then basically like heaven, essentially, you would think of that giant light. And then looking the opposite direction, there's all these people, and it's kind of her making this decision, like, do I go to the light or do I stay with these people? And she chooses to go up the stairs. She could have walked up the ramp as an old woman. She could have taken that easy ramp up to that light, and she chose to walk up a staircase into that light. Now that's got to say something about her character, like taking this challenge as an older woman who's using a walker throughout the film. Like she clearly can't walk very well, and she's like, nope, I'm just gonna walk up this staircase into the light. I think that does say something about her character, her psychology, essentially, of the challenges that she's taking.
The hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she does pass away, and the whole community is devastated. And I don't know if we mentioned earlier, but Usnavi is really working to get his butt to the Dominican Republic. He says it was the best times of his life was being in the Dominican Republic with his dad, who has passed away, and he does try to get his younger cousin Sonny to join him, but Sonny really likes it in New York, and he says, no, man, you go get your island. I have my island right here. But we find out later that Sonny isn't actually a legal citizen, even though he grew up in New York City. Now, also, there's this, everybody was really excited about the lottery that was going on, in which later we find out that Usnavi finds the lottery ticket that Abuela actually had. She had the winning ticket, and it was what, $90,000, right? The prize money?
96 G's.
96K, yeah. So he ends up deciding to use that for the legal cost to get Sonny to be a legal citizen. He ends up talking to Alejandro, who is able to arrange all of the legal defense. And he makes sure he lets him know, it's like, well, this, it's a possibility this won't happen. And he's like, I'm obligated to let you know that this isn't guaranteed. I mean,
I interpret that as a bribe. I think that it was more like a bribe over legal costs, because I think talking to a lawyer like that is just the lawyer saying, typically when you file for a green card, it's going to take, anywhere from now to 5 years or longer, which that is a legitimate thing. Like, that is literally how it goes in the States right now. You're basically putting yourself in a line of other people who have filed for a green card. And it's essentially like when you file, it's like you're at the end of the line, and who knows when you're going to get one, because whoever else has filed for a green card, they're in front of you. It's like it's like standing in a very long lunch line, and that's awful. And so I interpreted that scene like, okay, well, here's 96 G's. Now, can you speed up the pace, essentially?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I was like, here's some money, do extra work and get it done fast. Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, you're right. I didn't think of that earlier, but yeah, I was like, really? His legal costs cost $96,000? But like, yeah, you're right. That was like get the shit done now.
Yeah.
Alejandro.
Get him a card.
Get him a card. Make him legal. I'm getting out of here. Yeah. So in the meanwhile, he doesn't even cash it, because Usnavi's like, I'm leaving in the morning. Like, here's the ticket. Cash it. Here you go. Like, the money's yours. I want to get out of here, but take care of Sonny. Make sure he can be a citizen. Do you remember what changed his mind other than Vanessa deciding to put up? Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm just being a dick, but like, it seemed like she just put up like Usnavi never really seemed like he personally was interested in fashion, and but he never was against Vanessa being into fashion. He was like, oh, cool, it's not my thing, but awesome. Vanessa finds these paint rags that one of the local street artists had from his murals that he painted, and she decided to make like a fashion piece on these mannequins that she displayed in his corner store, Usnavi's corner store. And the street artist decided to work with Vanessa, and he painted Usnavi's, what he called his dad's beach in Dominican Republic, on the wall of the grocery store, the little street grocery store inside, and made it look really nice. And basically it was sort of like a hey, look how this is great. We love you. Please stay. And it was like right at the end too. Also, we had a scene earlier where Vanessa she buys like this champagne to like, I don't even know why. Oh, because Usnavi talked to one of the salon owners or something that Vanessa worked for to co-sign.
Yeah, to co-sign
for the
so she could get the
Vanessa.
apartment. Yeah,
exactly. So she can move down to Manhattan or somewhere downtown New York. And so that's working out for her. She's like, hey, it's like, well, you're leaving. I'm leaving. Vanessa's like, well, I'm not really leaving. I'm just, you can hop on a train and see me. You're leaving the country. Like, here's some champagne. So they kind of have this awkward thing where it's like, oh, they're together. No, they're not. And
well, Vanessa finally lays a kiss on him then too, and finally admits that she's like, oh, I like you.
Yeah, smacks one on him. And so then we have this sort of like, again, I'm skipping scenes, but we have the moment where you have like the beach painted inside the store. You have these fashion mannequins up, and they look cool, but I'm wondering, what does that have to do with Usnavi? Did you know?
I mean, that was pretty much it. I think that was the persuasive element. And I don't know how that's really all it takes, but
why did he care about that? Yeah, I mean,
he cares about Vanessa, I think. That's really
he cares
like
about Vanessa, yeah.
Vanessa already, offered him champagne, kissed him on the face, and admitted her feelings for him. He's been trying to get her forever, and so finally she kisses him and takes off. And that was immediately after they had going back in time a little bit again. Leading up to that champagne and kiss and everything, she's saying that she can't find inspiration anywhere. And Usnavi gives her the great one line of, it'll just fall on you or something like that. And of course, after she smacks a kiss on him and walks out thinking everything's gone kaput, it literally falls on her by their friend Pete. He's doing graffiti on a wall and he gets spray paint on her shoe, and then she starts seeing his rags that have spray paint on them, and he tells her, oh yeah, you can just take those, I got tons of them. And that's when she starts making the different fashion elements on these murals. She puts them up in Usnavi's bodega, and then she surprises him with the murals that are in the bodega. And he also gets surprised because Pete did a giant wall painting all over the bodega of the beach and everything, like Dominican Republic, just like the Dominican Republic, like his family was at. And he did that he says he did it from memory. He's like, I remember those photographs and my memory. I can just paint it from memory. It's pretty impressive, Pete, not gonna lie. You can just remember it that well.
Cool, but do you remember that map that they had up earlier in the movie of the Caribbean and the Dominican Republic? Do you remember that?
Not very well.
It was a really cool painting of a map, like and in the center of it was the Dominican Republic, but it was like the whole thing stretched to the Caribbean, like the Caribbean islands and Cuba and Puerto Rico, and the top of it was Florida. It was really cool. And I'm like, well, that's cool. But also that map picture was pretty cool too. Anyway, whatever. It was special.
I think it just comes down to Usnavi being so persuaded by like, wow, you brought my entire family into my bodega through this painting, and also I see Vanessa has got inspiration, and also Vanessa has feelings for me. I'm staying here, and also Sonny is capable of going to college now that I paid off that lawyer 96 G's. So
but like, he doesn't get to go to the Dominican Republic.
He could still go there. You could take a vacation or something.
Yeah, like. Yeah.
Also, we never mentioned how Usnavi got his name. I should say.
Yeah, that's right.
His dad, apparently when his dad first came to Washington Heights, he saw a U.S. Navy boat and named him Usnavi.
Yep. Navy. Yep. So we see these kids, and especially this one girl, and she even says, what happened next, Daddy? And Papa, whatever she said. So that one of the kids is this kid, at least in the future. And later in the movie, like kind of like the walls come down, and guess what? They weren't at the beach, and these other kids didn't exist.
They were in a bodega the whole time.
Yeah, and it's just his daughter, and the other kids disappear. The other kids that he was talking to, they literally just disappear,
teleport away.
Yeah, they disintegrate. You don't see them ever again.
It's a sci-fi film now.
He just had filler kids there, and but his daughter remains, and she's like, oh, Daddy, I love you. And Vanessa comes up, oh, hey, I'm your mom. And she's like, oh yeah, I know. And then they dance, kiss, and there's like the sparklers or something, fire hydrant, I don't know, they're dancing on the street.
The fire hydrants. Yeah,
and so it's a happy ending, but I still was like, so I don't know. It's just it's like a win-lose situation for Usnavi. You know what I mean? Like he could have gone, we were kind of thinking that like, okay, he went to the Caribbean. He went to the Dominican Republic. He probably met someone else and he had a kid, and because, we knew that the little girl was his kid, and he's telling the story of his life in New York. On the other hand, yes, he stays. He loves Vanessa. I guess. I know he at least thinks she's hot. He likes her. Like, he has feelings for her. Does he like, oh my God, I love you? Yeah, I mean, like, was the love strong? Was it really that strong for him to be like, I'm giving up my dream for you?
I don't know if we need all those details, because I feel like...
Or at least the feeling. At least the feeling, you know what I mean? Like the connection. I know they liked each other. They totally wanted to do it with each other. But like, was there enough of a foundation of a love there, which couldn't have just been implied in just, I don't know.
I feel like that's implied a little bit, because she clearly wants to be with him, because
like, they're not even a couple yet. And he has a plane ticket the next day. And because she made his shop look really nice, which is very sweet, very, very sweet, they kissed once.
He can still go back. He can still go back.
And he gives up his dream for her.
He can go back to the Dominican Republic anytime, though. He's
like, I'll date her for a little bit, and they ends up having a kid, and he's like, I guess not.
Yeah, maybe sometime down the road he can be like, you know what, Vanessa, you, me, and our child, we're gonna move to the Dominican Republic now.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, she gets her dream of being a fashion designer, but like, what about? And he says like, oh, my destiny's this store, which is fine. If anybody has a destiny, it's like a store or whatever, running a store or staying where you're at your whole life. That's awesome. But it didn't seem like he wanted that. It seemed like he wanted something else. But because of this hot lady really liked him, he was like, well,
hey, man,
I gotta stay here.
Destinies change sometimes. You know what I wanted to be when I was younger? I wanted to go to clown college. Where am I now? I'm on a podcast.
You did go to clown college. You went to Second City.
It's true. I did.
That's clown college. You went to a few.
You worked college. There, so
I worked there. Yeah,
you worked at clown college.
I went to clown college. I worked at clown college. I'm done with clown college. Spent way too much time at clown college for my taste. But I met a lot of great people at clown college. And learned a lot of cool stuff. I just spent way too much time and too much money. No one to peel out of your classes. Classes are great. Take classes. Don't spend all your time and money on classes. But anyway, that was my only thing. It was like, what about his dream? You know what I mean? Like, he was so adamant about getting to the Dominican Republic, and all it took was just painting a picture in his store and this babe that that he had one kissed with. Yeah, I mean, and then he's like, well, fuck it. Like, I've dreamt about this for 30 years. Nope, not gonna do it now.
Maybe.
I just needed something a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, a little bit
Maybe
more.
Interpret it like his dream was perhaps subjective, and he has a new interpretation of what his dream really is, and perhaps that dream is now a family, which
wasn't convincing to me. You're right. You're right. And it just wasn't convincing to me. In terms of scripts, this is like my main criticism. That's basically it, because otherwise I had a fantastic time watching this. But my main criticism is that I wish there was more of a history between Usnavi and Vanessa. Like, I wish they were like, they had dated for like 2 years or something, or, they had such a strong foundation, or they knew each other since they were kids and it was his first kiss or whatever, I don't know, something like that.
It's fair.
Just more of a foundation besides, oh, this hot chick gave me a kiss and she's really hot and she likes me enough to paint or get a guy to paint a cool picture of my dad's beach in my store. I'm going to stay here. Fuck Dominican Republic. I'm staying here. I've been telling everybody that I want to go to Dominican Republic. I even spent a ton of money on a flight and fuck it. I'm not going. If they known each other for a longer while, or if they dated for a longer while, and like, maybe Vanessa like proposed to him right there. Yeah, I mean, if she could have been like, I love you, please marry me. Like, I'm proposing, please stay, I love you. It's like, okay, then like, fine. You know what? You have love.
Usnavi and Vanessa were both scaredy cats. That's what she needed Sonny for.
True. But am I wrong? Does she even say I love you to get him to stay?
Well, no. She just shows him her murals or her fashion-wearing people. And
look at me and look at this. Yeah, you gotta stay.
I'm calling them murals, but they're mannequins.
It was a mural. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's a mural. Yeah, it's like it didn't seem like enough to turn how strong his conviction was that he belonged in the Dominican Republic, you know, because he seems so strong about that. And her, unless he was just real horny, her case didn't seem as strong, you know, because he even seemed like he was like, you know what, Sonny's in good hands. I gave a shit ton of money to Alejandro. He even seemed like, yep, he's got it. You know, I gave him a ton of money. Benny's going to be okay. He seemed like, okay, cool. Dust his hands off. And he seemed like he was ready to go. You know what I mean? And then Vanessa shows up and is like, oh, man, I guess I got to stay now.
Well, I don't think he could
Maybe this won't work out. I don't know. Because are we boyfriend? Were they even boyfriend and girlfriend at that point? It's like, what are we? You know,
I don't think he could buy a family and love with 96 G's. It's not like he can buy a hooker or something and be like, yeah, I'm going to stay in Washington Heights. But yes, he can get Sonny's green card situation figured out with that lawyer through a bribe. But he can't.
That was his good deed. You know?
And he did, but he can't get someone's love or a family or that whole lifeline of a plot figured out with the 96 G's. So I think in his mind, it's kind of like, you know what? I got Sonny's life figured out. I don't have a wife and a kid or a girlfriend or anything like that. My love life is not figured out. I'm going to take off. Yeah, exactly. So he's like, cool.
He's been on one date with this woman.
He's like, the one girl that I like, Vanessa, it's not working out. So yeah, I'm going to go to Dominican Republic.
They almost had 2 dates with the champagne. It also went badly as well.
But then Vanessa showed him that her career is going to work out, and also Pete redid the bodega so it can be successful. And he's it's like, basically,
all right, fine. You can have your dream. I won't have my dream. I'll stay.
It was essentially a scene where it's like, listen, Usnavi, the neighborhood's got your back, and Vanessa is going to marry you and thrive with you for the rest of your life. Just so you know.
You, and I'm sure that's what probably Lin-Manuel Miranda would say too. But I don't buy it, man. That ending for that, it didn't ruin the movie for me. Let me be very clear about that. It did not ruin the good feelings I had all during this movie. But I think that sucked. That's my one criticism of this.
Well, Usnavi was crying, so sucked. You know what? Go talk to him about it.
At the very least, she could have said, I love you, or please marry me, or stay, because it didn't seem like they really liked each other that much, or it didn't really seem like he really liked her as much. He was just like nervous and he couldn't talk around her. And it was just, it's like, oh man.
Like a La La Land relationship.
Yeah, it just didn't seem enough, man. It just, because if he wants a babe, he can go find a babe in Dominican Republic, man. You know, like he can go date women there. And it's like, you know, yes, she was good looking, but like, was there a connection? You know what I mean? Just being good looking is not good enough for a reason. Like, there has to be love. There has to be a connection if you're going to give up like something like your dream, you know? Anyway, I'm done talking about it. That was my one.
I hear you, man.
Other than that, I had fantastic time watching this. Let me just kind of note a little bit about some of the box office and reception outside of the Screen Slurps, which was that on Rotten Tomatoes, In Heights held an approval rating of 96% based on 244 reviews with an average rating of 8.4 out of 10. The website's critics' consensus reads, lights up for In the Heights, a joyous celebration of heritage and community fueled by dazzling direction and sing-along songs. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 84 out of 100 based on 52 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on a A+ to F scale, while Post-Track reported 88% of audience members gave it a positive score, with 67% saying they would definitely recommend it. And also on the from the Hollywood Reporter, David Rooney said, quote, the movie glows with an abundance for love for its characters, their milieu, and the pride with which they defend their cultural footprint against the encroaching forces of New York development that continually shove the marginalized further into the margins. The resilience with which the characters claim their place in the fabric of city life is exhilarating. In his review for Variety, Peter DeBruge praised Chu's direction and wrote, like its source, the movie is a blast, one that benefits enormously from being shot on the streets of Washington Heights. And IndieWire's David Ehrlich gave the film an A-, saying, so exuberant and full of life that would probably convince you the movies were back even if it hadn't gone anywhere. In Heights is the kind of electrifying theatrical experience that people have been waxing nostalgic about ever since the pandemic began. The kind that it almost seemed like we might never get to enjoy again. Seeing this massive, guileless, heartfelt piece of Hollywood entertainment on the big screen is like coming home after a long year in exile, only to find that it's still here and maybe even better than you remembered, end quote.
Ooh.
I think that's very well stated, David Ehrlich.
I agree.
I'm going to stop reading the reviews at that point because I really like that.
I've got a very interesting fact I found about In the Heights on SeattleRefined.com. Very interesting fact. Director Jon Chu named his son, who was born during filming, Heights after the film's location.
Heights.
So his son is now named Heights. Yeah, Heights Chu. Yeah.
Heights Chu.
There's a quote following this. Quote, you could have lost me. You could have lost a lot of things, and you could have shot in Washington Heights and got a similar movie because that has a presence, has a spirit about it, said Chu. In fact, I loved it so much that I named my son, who I had during the shooting of the movie, I named him Heights because I wanted to hear that word, Heights. I just thought it was so beautiful. The aspiration, the hopes, the dreams of this place that took care of each other. I wanted to hear that every day of my life, and I wanted him to hear that word every day, end quote.
It's very cool. So just to properly acknowledge this a little bit further from what I have written here, the film has been criticized for its casting choices which seemingly excluded Afro-Latino actors with darker skin colors and misrepresented the demographics of Washington Heights. Miranda apologized for this mistake. Actress Rita Moreno defended Lin-Manuel Miranda on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, saying, quote, it's like you can never do right, it seems. This is the man who literally brought Latino-ness and Puerto Rican-ness to American entertainment. She added in reference to Miranda. They're really attacking the wrong person, end quote. Okay, so I don't think he deserves an attack at all. Criticism, constructive criticism, yes. And this is a man, as he's proven repeatedly, can take constructive criticism. He is a good man that can own up to when he's wrong and be able to identify his mistakes, and especially when they're presented to him, or even if he's attacked by it.
I certainly
he doesn't
agree.
lash back out. He's a good dude. And I mean, there is a lot of, and by Afro-Latino, from what my understanding is that culturally Latino, but black people, in which we only had one really in the main cast, which was Corey Hawkins. Now, granted, Leslie Grace probably was mixed with African descent, but granted, she did have light skin. She had light skin. And it's not to say that people with light skin who are of different cultures or different ethnicities, that they don't experience oppression, but there does need to be more representation of more darker skinned people, especially when it comes to a specific area like Washington Heights. So I'm guessing, again, I don't know Washington Heights personally that well, but I'm guessing that there's a lot more of a Afro-Latino demographic there that needed to be represented, in which Lin-Manuel Miranda owned up and said, he apologized for it. So that's a thing. So with that, I think the best thing to do, and I don't have authority on it, I'm just theorizing, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I should just shut the fuck up about it. I just want to leave it on positivity, is that maybe with that, it can be the next movie, the next musical, can have those mistakes corrected and even better.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think Lin-Manuel Miranda mentioned that's the plan, really. You know, like you said, constructive criticism, and he has said in interviews that, you know, from that constructive criticism, he is listening, he is fully aware and open to that kind of commentary, or, you know, the comments that they're making. He is listening for that, and he does want to grow from those kind of comments and continue to make better projects from that.
Definitely. With that said, real quick, just wanted to kind of note the box office, since things are returning to a new normal. That's kind of weird to say, returning to a new normal. It's like, if it's new, then we've never been there before.
We're always changing.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of people vaccinated, so people are going back to the movies. So it is worth noting box office stuff right now, ratings and everything. So I'm going to say this bit before we go into the final slurps, the slurps up, slurps down section. So in the United States and Canada, In the Heights was released alongside Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway, which I had no idea what the hell that was, and was initially projected to gross as high as 25 to 35 million from 3,456 theaters in its opening weekend, though an estimate of 10 million to the mid-teens was also suggested. A poll by Fandango Media found that the film would be the first seen in a theater since the pandemic began, for 96% of people pre-ordering tickets for it. After grossing 5 million on its first day, weekend estimates were lowered to 13 million. It went on to debut to just 11.5 million, finishing second behind holdover A Quiet Place Part 2. 67% of the audience was over the age 25, and 63% being female. The underperformance was not blamed on the film's simultaneous digital release on HBO Max so much as the 2.5 runtime limiting the number of showtimes, 25% of American theaters remaining closed, and the film not appealing outside of its target demo due to its 55 million production budget and 50 million spent on marketing. Variety estimated the film would need to gross around 200 million worldwide to break even. Now, yeah, I mean, it's the thing is that, like, at least from what I'm hearing in my network, I mean, this appeals to everybody, like, all different kinds of people. And whether you're from the In Heights, whether you subscribe to a Latino or Hispanic culture or not, whether you're light skinned, dark skinned, from my network anyway, and again, it's limited, I'm hearing lots of praise for this movie. But it's still a funny time. It's still a funny time right now, because we still are kind of transitioning. And we said earlier, this is, other than that one time we went to Tenet and we were sitting far apart from each other with masks on, like, this was like my return to cinema, and it felt good, and I actually hadn't planned on seeing it if I didn't hear about the buzz from other people. Like, if I didn't hear about the buzz, I've been like, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, like, I like Hamilton, but I didn't really know much about In the Heights before. And, like, I was just like, it doesn't really appeal to me. So everybody's saying, like, it's awesome, go see it. I'm like, why not? And it was so much fun. And it was happy and bright and beautiful and romantic. And I love that scene that Benny and Nina had on dancing on the building, but sideways, and making it seem like they're gonna fall off. But then I thought Benny was gonna fall off. Like Singing in the Rain almost, or like Gene Kelly type of, like, old school Broadway musical. It just had this magic to it, this magical realism, which I thought was gorgeous. I love that scene when they were dancing on the wall. That was so cool. And I liked how they kind of, like, made you think, like, is it real? Is it not? I don't know. Because they had that kid who was in the apartment with his family eating dinner, just kind of like slack jawed, like, what? Seeing people dance on the window. So that was cool. I think, was there any other moments like that? Well, they had that moment where they were kind of dreaming about the 96,000, and they're kind of like doing all these. It was all, I mean, they were kind of rhyming and stuff, kind of riffing, and they were kind of like doing all these drawings, really, and you could see like one like did like this like motion of like Obi-Wan Kenobi with a lightsaber, and you saw this like drawing almost just in midair of a lightsaber come out of his hand. So you had like instances where it's like it's almost kind of like 5 Days of Summer, like we talked about, like these elements where it just seemed a little like, you know, I think this is in their imagination, but we're seeing it as if it's real, which is really cool. So I really appreciated that. And going into the final slurps, I mean, it is, I can't really praise this enough. I know I had my criticism, but overall it was just a happy, beautiful movie, and I loved it. I think, like I said earlier, the criticism needs to be taken to heart, and the next one and movies beyond that, I think other movies should take this to heart too, especially when you're representing a marginalized, oppressed demographic of people. You gotta listen. You gotta make things better. You gotta keep making things better, because this world is not made for everybody, unfortunately. This current world, especially this country, was not. It was conquered, and it was made with blood, unfortunately, and genocide and slavery. And we live in a world that we're trying, you know, a good amount of us, and there needs to be more, a good amount of us are climbing out of that. And movies are powerful. Movies are very powerful. Absolutely. And they affect real life things, indeed. And when you make a movie and you learn the mistakes and the failures from behind and you make it even better, like, you can have a positive or you can have a negative effect on humanity. And I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is one of those top dudes that can do it, that can, fail, listen to criticism, make things better. And with that, I'm going to say that In the Heights is not a perfect movie, but it is a beautiful movie, and I highly recommend it. I think if you haven't seen the movie in a really long time because of the pandemic, go see this movie. You'll have a wonderful time. It is so much fun, and it'll have you wanting to sing, will have you wanting to dance. It's full of sunshine. The actors are amazing and beautiful voices, great choreography. It's great. I'm going to give In Heights a big, giant slurps up. What about you, Adam?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I gotta say, I like a great musical film, and I think this movie really certainly delivers in terms of anything you'd want out of a great musical film. And I think the biggest thing for me in watching this movie is that I thought it was a very fun film to watch, but the biggest thing is not only is the film fun, but it's also just a very serious film with a lot of realistic elements. I mean, the whole story in itself is just realism. And so you got to put the two together. It's fun, but it's also dramatically real. And as I was saying earlier, it's truly, it's got a sense of feeling like you're looking at the news a little bit as a musical. And I appreciate it for being like that, because although I'm saying that it's fun to watch and it's entertaining as a musical, that's true. But I think it's good to watch something like this film or this musical and learn from it, and learn to know what needs to be done in places that are like Washington Heights, for different cultures and for communities like this Latin community, and for other people, and caring about other people and neighborhoods and things like that. This whole plot for this film, where this neighborhood was trying to stick together and take care of one another, it feels really nice to watch a movie like this and then get this vibe walking out of the theater thinking like, I just want to go help somebody now. I want to make things better and make other people feel stronger, and how can I have a hand in that? So I think it's good to have movies like this where it gives the viewer a nice sense of urgency, like, how can I make things better for another person? How can I reach out and help other people, help more people, and keep that continuous grasp going, from one hand to the next? So I definitely got that out of this film. A really good vibe. And in terms of a musical as a film, I think it's just fantastic. It's got a great message. It's got a great feeling throughout. I think the characters, each and every one of them, supporting, and Usnavi himself, the main character, I think they've all got a great vibe to them. And I definitely got to give this one a slurps up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that it does. instill a good sense of morality in terms of, you know, like doing good things for other people, like a good like selflessness and like, yeah, being there for others, especially when they're in need of you. I think that's a really good message in this movie for sure, among other things. I'm glad you mentioned it in your final slurps for this. Cool. Excellent, man. Yeah, please go watch this movie, everyone. You will not regret it. And it may open your eyes to some things. So yeah, check it out and let us know on social media what you think too. If you have a varying opinion, we'd like to hear your thoughts. Follow us on social media on Facebook,
we like
Twitter, and Instagram. Like, write in the comments, and yeah, check it out. And we'd like to hear what you think, not just what we think. As
give us a jangle.
Listen to our own show, and we're like, yeah, we said that pretty good. We'd like to hear what you think too. So yeah, we're pretty good at talking about. You know, my opinion was right.
We talk to ourselves a little.
We're just two men. We're just two men in this world, and we'd like to hear various opinions.
You hear that, ladies? Come talk to us.
The discussion. With that said, let's move on to the solo plug time. This time where we plug some things that we do off the side of this podcast. So plug for me would be that Dash Garrett, I stream on Twitch and my Dungeons & Dragons show. It's a Dungeons & Dragons 5e actual play show titled Journey Punks. It's on Twitch. We stream on Mondays. D&D night is every other Monday. And in between there, we have like this like variety show. It could be a talk show. It could be a video game stream. That's why it's just called J-Punk Chunk. It's just like whatever. That's in between D&D nights. But anyway, all of them are on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can go ahead and follow us on Twitch. And we are also on Instagram at Journey Punks. It's JOURNEYPUNKS. Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitch, the handle is twitch.tv/JourneyPunks. That is twitch.tv/JOURNEYPUNKS. And I am the Dungeon Master, aka the Game Master, depending on what you prefer. I personally like DM, but yeah, people like Game Master too, so check it out. Adam, your turn, bud.
You can catch me on Twitter, on Instagram, on SoundCloud at Adam Meisner. It's just my name. And you can catch me on Twitch from time to time at /A Meisner. And believe it or not, I have been creating a video game over the past few months. It's a little short video game, but it's a game that you can play. I'm putting up a very... I'm putting up the game. I mean, it's like a alpha, beta, whatever you want to call it, the very first version of it onto my website. That's just adammeisner.com, and I should be putting that up for playable testing or playability within the next week.
Yeah, man, that's exciting. I really want to play it. That'd be awesome. Yeah, it will be so it's okay. So it would be on your website. So then we would download it onto our computer and play our computer. Or do we download it on our phones?
I'm trying to make it so that you can just stream it in HTML. But I can publish it as an app that you can download it onto your computer. Right now, that is probably the best option, but I'm really trying to make it so you can just play it in your browser.
What about your phone?
I don't know if it can quite do that yet, but it will definitely be compatible on a computer.
Okay, cool. Well, I like gaming on my computer more than my phone anyway, so that works out for me. Yeah, that's exciting. I can't wait. Yeah, folks, you join me in playing Adam's game. It's probably going to be awesome. So it's really cool. It's got to be tough programming video games. So that is a huge achievement. So congratulations, as Alucard would say in Castlevania. So with that said, that wraps up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Thanks for listening, everybody, and please be sure to follow us on social media. We release new episodes on every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about everywhere you can find podcasts on the internet. And please be sure to follow and subscribe to us on those platforms. And if you like our show, please, pretty please give us a nice 5-star review in the Apple Podcast app. It will definitely help us.
Yes, please.
It really helps us out. Faux show, like, it definitely helps us out. So if you like our show, that is how you can help us. So sincerely, we would appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank
appreciate
you all.
That. And yeah, tell other people you like us if you like us. And if not, just write us a DM, and you can just keep it secret. And just tell us you hate us
criticism
in a DM, and we will be like, oh, you're right. right. Sorry, don't tell anybody else. Anyway, yeah, freedom of speech. Be free with your speech. We're not telling you not to say what you want to feel. Just, it just wouldn't hurt us so much. We're trying to do our best here, please.
We just like movies, okay?
Yeah, we want to be good. Anyway, closing out. This is Dash Gearhart.
And I'm Adam Meisner.
Slurps up, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.